Hello viewers, and thanks for tuning in for video number 3. I would like to wish you all a happy new year, and I hope that 2020 provides all the beauty and blessings that life has to offer. Before I go into today's topic, I would like to show you all my life insurance sweatshirt. Because of the glare and the angle that I'm sitting on, it's a little difficult to read, so I'll read it to you. It says hashtag insure the hood, hashtag insure the hood, and hashtag insure the babies. Those are the 3 main hashtags that I use online. I invite you all to use them too so we can help spread the message. So as I mentioned to you before, I have a series of topics that I would like to discuss on the channel. And today's topic originally was going to be something entirely different. But after speaking to a loved one, I decided to change my original plan. And I switched gears, and I would like to speak about the pros and cons of employer-based health insurance. When I spoke with the loved one, they stated that they didn't need a coverage because they had insurance through their employer, and that many people tend to take on that mindset. And though I believe that insurance through your employer is a wonderful benefit to have, I would advise everyone to have some kind of coverage, even if it's just a small policy outside of your employer. So let's jump into the pros very quickly, because I don't intend for this video to be very long. Let me jump into the pros of insurance provided through your employer. So employer-based life insurance is called group coverage, and group policies are designed to do exactly what the name says. They are designed to cover a group of people versus an individual and their family. And the pros of this type of policy are they're very easy to get. I can't think of really any instances where someone would be denied the coverage, because they typically ask 0 health questions. They don't ask about your hobbies and your lifestyle, so it's very easy to get the coverage, and you typically get it for free. Now, every employer and every insurance carrier work a little differently, so sometimes there is a cost associated with this type of coverage, but it's normally pennies on the dollar, and typically you can have the premiums come directly out of your paycheck, so you don't have to worry about paying it on your own. And in many cases, you're able to purchase additional coverage for a very minimal fee. So let's just say, for instance, your salary is $30,000 annually. Your insurance coverage would typically be equal to your annual salary. So if you make $30,000 a year, your coverage would typically be $30,000 a year as well. However, in many cases, the option to purchase what we call ADD, accidental death and dismemberment insurance, is an option that you could purchase for a very minimal amount, and it typically works where you can purchase 3 to 5 times your salary for very little. I also have insurance through my employer that's equal to 1 time my salary, and I purchased the additional ADD for, I believe I had 5 times my salary, and I think I only pay like $7 and some change per pay for that additional coverage. So it's a very good thing. It's a very good benefit if your job provides it. I suggest you jump on it. Another thing is sometimes you have to wait until the open enrollment period to do this. And typically you have to be employed with them a certain amount of time, like it's usually equal to your probation period, so maybe 3 months, 6 months. Some employers, which I think is kind of rare, you have to be employed with them for a year before you could take advantage of that benefit. So that would kind of fall on the con side, because it's not something that you can obtain initial, like day one, once you're employed with the company. So let me go into the cons of this type of insurance. One of them is that usually it only covers you. So in many cases, majority of the cases, your children or your spouse aren't able to be covered under your employer-based health insurance. So you would still need to get additional coverage or coverage on your children elsewhere. And because with group insurance, the employer is the owner of the policy, you don't really have any say-so on the face amount of the policy. Like I said, it's typically equal to 1 year of your salary. So you can't say, I have 5 children and I would like to leave X amount of dollars to each one of them in the event of my passing, or I purchased this home and I would like to purchase an amount of insurance that would allow my home to be paid off in the event of my policy, or I have this much debt, and in the event of my passing, I want my policy to pay off my debt so my survivors don't have to worry about that. That's not an option that you have with group insurance. Also, another con is that if you're in the event that you're no longer employed with your job, there goes your coverage. There are instances, very rare instances, where if you leave your employer, you can take your group policy with you. You can take that policy with you, but those are very rare instances. If you will, I'm not going to go into those here, but if you would like to message me outside of this video, I will gladly have a conversation with you about the very rare instances where you can take your insurance with you. And typically, once you separate from your employer, and you could be thinking, I don't plan, I plan to stay at my job until I retire. I don't plan on leaving my job anytime soon. However, layoffs happen, people get fired, jobs go under, they may run into a situation where they're in a financial deficit, or the job just can't afford to carry the cost of covering employees' insurance policies anymore. So they may decide with your next open enrollment period that's no longer a benefit offered, and then you're left without coverage. Another thing is, before I move on to the next con, back to what I was saying a few seconds ago, that once you leave the employer, in some cases, there's a 30-day window where if you're no longer employed there, you're still covered for about 30 days. And that's not with all, but that is happens in some cases. But once you hit that 31st day, you're without any coverage. So I always recommend that people have at least a small policy outside their employer. Another con is, let's just say you started working at your job 20 years ago, and you had a life insurance policy, or you were interested in getting a life insurance policy, but then you realized, oh, well, my employer offers life insurance, so I don't need this outside policy. But you had already gotten a few quotes, and you saw that it didn't really cost you much to get insurance, but my employer will insure me for free, so you opted to go with the free insurance. Well, if it's now 20 years down the line and you leave your employer and you realize, well, I'm no longer going to have life insurance, so let me look into getting coverage elsewhere. Now it's 20 years later, you're 20 years older, so the numbers that you saw before are going to look a lot different, because the older we get, the more it costs to insure us. The premium amounts are higher, and hopefully no one would have run into any instances where they now have ailments or illnesses that makes it harder to insure them. So those are just a few things that I would like us to keep in mind when we only have insurance through our employer, because job insurance is not a guarantee. It's not even a guarantee for the length of your employment, because as I stated before, the job could decide they're no longer going to provide that coverage, that benefit. The job could, you never know what's going to happen with the economy. The job could go out of business. So it's always important to have some kind of coverage outside of your employer. Those are really the main pros and cons that I could think of at the moment. Feel free to have a conversation with me outside of the video. I'm not going to make this one too long. But I do want to give a shout out to people who run YouTube channels on a daily basis. Those of you who have been doing this for years, you guys are the real MVPs, because this is difficult. Like, before I started this video, I had to send a group text out and say, send me some positive vibes, y'all, because I'm really struggling trying to do this video. I'm not even going to tell you how many times I started over, but this is more difficult than it may seem, and I hope I make it look easy, but I assure you that it isn't. And like I promised you in the last video, with each video, I'm going to tell you one weird fact about me. But before I do, I want to kind of recap just to make sure we all, get the message of this video. I'm going to recap. The pros to having group life insurance is that it's easy to get. It costs you no or very little money. Some coverage is better than no coverage. I wholeheartedly believe in that. Some coverage is better than no coverage at all. And you are able to purchase that ADD insurance at very little at a very little cost. So those are the pros. But the cons are you are unable to insure your spouse or your children under that policy. Typically, when you leave the employer for whatever reason, you aren't able to take that policy with you, and you have very little say-so, no say-so at all really, in the amount of coverage that you have. So those are just some things that I would like us to think about, and I encourage everyone to have some sort of coverage outside of the employer. And now I'm going to move into the one weird fact about me. And if I have no subscribers after this, I understand completely. So I was a preemie. I was born almost 2 months early, And well, I think I was born a little more than 2 months early. And as a result, I do not feel that my nostrils developed completely. Now, I'm not going to shine this camera up my nose to show you what I'm saying, but if you really would like to see it, message me separately and I will gladly show you an example of what I mean. Like, and I've been saying this for years. I mentioned this to a few people. I really don't feel like my nostrils developed fully, and that was a result of me being premature. So thank you again for tuning in to video number 3. I have another topic for you. I don't know if I'm going to do the videos weekly or if I'm going to do 2 per week, just whenever, the mood strikes. But I have a new topic for you for the next video, as well as another weird fact about me. I promise you they'll get weirder and weirder as the videos go on. So I would like to thank you again for tuning in and see you soon. Bye.